I'm Alan Robarge, a psychotherapist and a relationship coach. Welcome to Improve Your Relationships, where I like to talk about attachment injuries and healing attachment trauma. And on this video, let's talk about the dysfunctional cycle of insecurely attached relationships. And the focus here is on the word cycle. And I also have a subheading for this idea, how we co-create a dynamic where it's a no-win situation for everybody. So the word cycle and the word co-create. This video is going to be in a series of 5 parts. I have created an outline in the form of summarizing different components of this cycle, and I've turned it into a document that you can follow along with. It's a handout. And if you want to get the handout, you can go to alanrobarge.com/ and then the word cycle. So just to repeat the title and what we're focusing on here, it is the dysfunctional cycle of insecurely attached relationship. And when I mean say cycle, what I mean is we're going to really pinpoint some key components or some of the consequences or some of the reoccurring themes that show up for many of us, and that we can play out this pattern throughout our adult life and in many relationships. And that's what's meant by this cycle, dysfunctional cycle. And there's aspects of what I'm going to share with you here. This is going to be a video in 5 parts. This is part 1. But I want to give you a heads up. Some of this content might be difficult to hear because of this idea of we co-create the cycle. Many of us get stuck from a point of view or looping in a place where we perceive and see the other person as the sole reason for our relationship not working and for us being denied emotional connection. And it's this idea that the other person is at fault, or we might even go as far as to say to blame, that really skews our understanding the cycle and the dynamic. Now, it's very possible there's aspects of this that don't apply to you. So, please discern as I share this, how this does or doesn't apply to you. But I am speaking after, years and years of working with clients, years and years of listening to the story, the reoccurring themes. This is really coming out of my clinical work. And quite honestly, it's coming out of also my life experience of what I've observed of myself in relationship and how I've really needed to wake up to what is this process, what is this cycle, and why does it keep repeating in my life? And how do I notice it? And again, to repeat, as an observer of working with clients, I'm really privileged to have this big picture perspective, to be a witness to someone else when you'll know what I'm talking about when you're in the confusion, you're in the looping, you're in the stress, you're in the anxiety, you're in the panic. It's very, very hard to have clarity. It's very hard to also see your contribution to fueling the dysfunctional cycle when you're just in pain. When we're in pain, we want relief. We're not necessarily going to say, hey, let's hang out here and practice the skill of greater insight so I really understand my contribution. No, usually we're saying like, let's just get rid of the pain. Let's I got to get back to, some place where I can function here and I'm not so, thrown off my center. And for some of us, it's anxiety and panic in our nervous system, and it's very immediate. And it's impacting our day and impacting how we work and impacting how we sleep and impacting how we eat. So I get it. I know that when you're in it, it's very, very hard to see the forest for the trees. But that's why I'm making this video, and that's why we can refer to the video. And if you want a copy of the document, go to alanrobarge.com/ and the word cycle, CYCLE. Let's jump in. This is video number 1 in a series of 5, and the first part of the cycle, the dysfunctional cycle of insecurely attached relationship as a co-created dynamic. I begin by saying, in the beginning, You will pick an unavailable partner even if you don't know this right away. I'm just going to interrupt myself here. I mean, do you hear how incredibly frustrating and even crazy making and confusing that is? In the beginning, you will pick an unavailable partner even if you don't know this right away. Well, if I don't know this, how am I picking well, I didn't know that going into it, but yet now I'm responsible for picking an unavailable partner? Let me repeat, it goes on. It says, in the beginning, you will pick an unavailable partner, even if you don't know this right away, even if your partner was initially available. And even when you clearly assert that you want someone who is available. So you might go in it with some clarity saying, hey, I want to be available. I want a partner to be available. Hey, do you want to be available? And then the partner responds in a way that is available. And over a period of time, the cycle goes on, and at some point something shifts, and you realize, guess what? You picked an unavailable partner, an emotionally unavailable partner. The partner might be available in many other ways, very supportive, very kind, help you out in certain ways, and be a benefit in your life, have some really clear aspects of his or her personality that really support healthy relating. But nonetheless, you notice in the site, after everything that happens, we can always come back and say, guess what? In the beginning, you picked an unavailable partner. The reason why this is so important to remember and say it again and again and again is because when we are stuck in the story of he did this, she did this, he did this, she did this, they have to change, we got to do this, and we're just looping and trying to force a relationship to happen that's not happening, we seem to forget that we've had at some point a realization, we have let in the consciousness, hey, wait a minute, this person is emotionally unavailable. We could change the language here and say emotionally immature. We can change, the language and say, emotionally withholding. And we have chosen this person. So a whole series of consequences of things not working out, we have co-created and participated in them not working out because from day one, we picked this person. This is a really hard pill to swallow. And I'm sorry that I'm the messenger and the bearer of information. Let me repeat, we go on. Part 1 of this handout says, in the beginning, you will pick an unavailable partner, even if you don't know this right away, even if your partner was initially available, and even when you clearly assert you want someone who is available. This is because most likely, not always, not true for everybody, but most likely, the reason why we do this is because you most likely are emotionally unavailable yourself. However, you cover this up by oversharing and investing in the relationship and the other person too quickly. You are initially hyper available and yet unaware of it. Your calibration, your sense of, your normal revealing and giving yourself over to a relationship is a kind of hyper availability, but it's actually covering up your own fears by not being cautious about revealing yourself and not being cautious around your insecurities, but really allowing yourself to say, oh, I'm so emotionally available. It's this kind of oversharing. And for many of us who do this, we're unaware of it. We don't realize that we're doing it. Once you give yourself permission to pursue the other person, you ignore red flags of concern and work to rationalize them. And you might call this loving hard or say that you're all in. You assign virtue to not holding back. The loving hard and the all-in approach stems from your confused lack of emotional boundaries. Your brain is coded in such a way based upon your past relationships, probably from your family relationships, that emotional unavailability is linked to what you find attractive, to attraction, to relationship, and the feeling of love. I know this is dense. I know that this is hard to hear. I know that we can just go off and have many conversations about this, which is in fact why I've created it. This is a foundational document, something that we will keep returning to. And if you want to explore this with other like-minded people, this is the type of content that I'm presenting in the community membership website. And on a weekly basis, we're going to hone in on certain aspects of this dynamic and let's go at it. Let's really uncover what are these patterns, how do these patterns show up in your life, and what resources do you have to change these patterns? Because at the core of this, or the end result of this, and when you're in it, it is so painful. This is about suffering. So to acknowledge this dysfunctional cycle of this pattern is to say that this is a pattern of suffering, and we need to understand it in order to stop inviting this degree of suffering in our relationships. Let me start over. I got 2/3 of the way through. I have one more third to go. In the beginning, you will pick an unavailable partner, even if you don't know this right away, even if your partner was initially available, and even when you clearly assert that you want someone who is available. This is because you most likely are emotionally unavailable yourself. However, you cover this up by oversharing and investing in the relationship and the other person too quickly. You are initially hyper available and unaware of it. Once you give yourself permission to pursue the other person, you ignore red flags of concern and you work to rationalize them. And you might call this loving hard, or say you're all in. You assign virtue to not holding back. The loving hard and all-in approach stems from your confused or lack of emotional boundaries. Your brain is coded in such a way based upon your past relationships, probably from your family relationships, that emotional unavailability is linked to attraction, relationship, and even the feeling of being loved. Unfortunately, this means you will not always be able to trust your feelings or perceptions of a given situation. Your unwillingness to slow down and contemplate what is actually happening will limit your ability to discern reality and make choices in your best interest. Your gauge for emotional calibration needs reset. The piece that stands out for me in that last part is about slowing down. I hear from people through email, through online groups, through individual clients, and a common part, the reason I'm saying that this is a cycle is, to identify this as a pattern, because it's so common. Something that's so common is just people rushing and going so fast to try. We haven't built a foundation for relating and relationship. We have not created a slow disclosure to get to know someone. We make these assumptions and these rash judgments that we get the go-ahead, the A-OK, let's make this relationship happen, and we find ourselves without a proper foundation to give us the support in the times when we have stress or in the times when life challenges us. The whole point and purpose of going slowly is to have disclosure of getting to know someone in a way that when we really reveal the truth of who we are, we're not so frightened by it. It's not so intently off-putting because of the degree of the intimacy. We don't have to force or rush that process. But for many of us, what we're talking about when we're insecurely attached and we're being driven by the need to say, yes, we must make this work. Oh good, I found someone. Let's be in relationship. Many of us just quite frankly go way too fast, and we find ourselves trying to take on major life decisions, major life challenges with a new partner when we don't even know this person. We're essentially two strangers to each other. And We have an unwillingness, that's the word here, your unwillingness to slow down and contemplate what is actually happening will limit your ability to discern reality and make choices in your best interest. Your gauge for emotional calibration needs reset. I hope that this is helpful. This is number one video. This is a 5-part document, so it's a 5-part video series. Please stay tuned. Check out the others that are up and coming. Get this document by going to alanrobarge.com/ the word cycle, CYCLE. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you like this video, more videos just like it on its way. I would love to have you subscribe. That's helpful to me. And then lastly, if you want to learn more about the community membership website that I have mentioned here, that we're using this document, if you want to really jump in and have this kind of conversation with other like-minded people, you can learn about that on my website at alanrobarge.com/community. Thank you for listening. See you on the next video.